From the Center for the Study and Teaching of Writing at The Ohio State University, this is Writers Talk, and today we are at the Ohioana Book Festival, and I am talking to Georgia Evans, the author of 3 books that all seem to have something good in common. Bloody Good, Bloody Awful, Bloody Right. I may have them out of order.
No, perfect order.
Oh, perfect order. So this one is first, Bloody Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about writing these stories. I'm just on a guess going to say that they're having something to do with the supernatural, maybe even vampires.
Absolutely vampires.
Okay.
The story behind them is sort of interesting. They're a completely new departure for me. My editor at Kensington, a couple of years, 3 years probably now, asked me if I'd be interested in writing a World War II book. And I said, oh yeah, I definitely would. I had a story that I really wanted to write, the story of my life, and I sent the proposal, and she nixed it.
Were there vampires in the story of your life?
Not the original one, no.
So that, yeah, all right.
It was not, anyway. So then she suggested I put vampires in because I'd had vampires in some of my other books. So I said, okay, and I came up with another, I thought, really brilliant idea, which she nixed completely too. And that's the way, the life of an author. And so I said, well, okay, Kate, she must have another idea. And I felt like saying, you've had my 2 best ideas, but I didn't because one must be tactful. And I said, well, what would you think? She said, how about make the vampires the villains for a change? So I thought, heck, why not,
Because the influence of Stephanie Meyer's, the vampires are the good guys now? Or
I think my other stuff, the vampires, if not had been heroic, had been at least on the side of right.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. I've never done out-and-out villain. So I thought, well, okay, so what? We've got World War II and the villains. They're obviously going to be German spies, aren't they? So the premise behind the stories is they're actually set in September, October, November of 1940. France has just fallen, invasion, everyone was expecting the invasion almost any day of the week. And what the Germans have done is they have dropped a nest of vampire spies on southeast England. Their plan is that they will ravage the countryside, weaken the population, so that when the tanks and the boats all arrive, everyone's just going to roll over, play dead, and they'll have a nice, easy invasion. Okay. However, they picked the wrong village. And I based this village on, not dissimilar to the one I grew up in England, but it is totally fictitious. And within this village are a number of paranormal characters. They have all hidden their other nature from each other and the other villagers because, if the villagers knew the district nurse turned furry at full moons and went round and round the hills, they'd probably look at her a little askance.
Right.
And she's a werefox. The village...
a
werefox.
A werefox.
Yes.
Okay.
You couldn't have wolves in southern England. They'd get noticed.
Oh, okay.
But foxes go...
Foxes, okay. Although they'll be chased during the fox hunts.
Well, she'd stay... Foxes, they don't hunt at night.
Oh.
It's only full moon, so she's okay with it. She has some other problems, though, as a fox. But the village doctor is a half pixie. Her grandmother is a full-blooded pixie. I have a witch in there. The grocer who also runs the black market is an elf. I have a couple of the sergeant who's in charge of the home guard is a Welsh dragon. His son is also a dragon, obviously. And I have something else. I forget what the other one is. Oh, there's a fairy comes into it, plus the vampires. And through the series, what happens is, one by one, these people have to acknowledge really to themselves and each other that they have these other gifts. And by using them and coming out with their other nature, not exactly to the village, but to each other, they band together and finally, one by one, take out the vampires.
And that happens across the 3
That happens across the 3. So each one is an individual story, but it said they come 1 month after the other. Like in the first one, they've no idea really what's going on. Okay. Then other than something weird is going on. They figure they're vampires. They don't know anything much about vampires. They have to do their own little bit of checking out. One's taken out, and they think they're safe. And then they realize, no, there are others, so one by one they have to take them out.
Okay. So now, when you're setting up a fantasy novel like this, and I'm going to assume it's a fantasy novel.
Yeah, it was marketed as fantasy.
Okay, it turns out it's not young adult, realistic.
No.
Okay, so you're writing something like this. What is your adherence to sort of traditional vampire lore or things like that? What kind of rules do you want to follow and rules that you want to break?
Okay, with the vampires, and again, the point is, everyone does it slightly differently.
Right.
Even the old tradition is different. My vampires can go out in daylight, but their powers are weakened. Wood destroys them, so does magic. They suck blood. They are under orders not to do much actual murder, so it would be noticed, but they're quite free to weaken anyone they want to. So, and they're based in different parts of the area. So there's not too many feeding in one area.
Okay. So does this make them magical creatures, or do you have a backstory for them, how vampires are created?
There's not a lot of backstory for them other than the fact that they are basically dedicated, loyal Germans out to do their best for the fatherland.
Okay. And so you have that idea of the vampires being the evil ones. I'm curious about the collections that you've got of, you said dragon, pixies, werefox. These seem to you to be more inherently good, or you just needed a magical creature to balance out the vampires?
I figured to cope with a vampire, you need someone more than your average mortal on the whole. Mm-hmm. I mean, because you're against supernatural power. Actually, what I tried to do is, if you think about it, the vampires, from their point of view, are not bad. They're heroic. Mm-hmm. Just as the other characters in the village, they're both doing their bit for their country, you might say. Whereas from the vampire's point of view, these people are definitely dangerous enemies.
Okay.
So I think I definitely made the vampire, shall we say, ruthless and manipulative of humans. But then again, they're doing it from their, they have a cause to fight for.
Right. Okay. What's the next thing that you're working on now? You've got these 3 out. They came out last summer.
Yeah, they came out last summer. They have some actually of my romance vampire reprints coming out this summer, which they're bringing out again, but we're out of print. Right now I'm actually working on, which is uncontracted, but I hope to get a contract, another World War II story, but this one's set in Vichy, France.
Okay. And who stars in that? Are there...
Okay, that one, the story is slightly different. The heroine actually is an American young woman who ignores all suggestions to go home at the start of the war, figuring, why should I? America's not going to get involved in it. It's not my war. I like my life in Paris. I'm staying here. And she gets stranded, obviously, after the Germans come in. She then gets involved in taking a friend's child. Actually, her father has been arrested because he worked on the Underground Press. She agrees to take the child to her mother in Spain. Goes to an old school friend actually, who works at the American Embassy, and asks him to help. And he says, I'll help you if you'll do something else for me. And she ends up taking 3 children. And she's a single woman. She's never had any deal with children until in her life. She's sort of stuck. And it's for her a big lesson in reality, to be honest. And she realized she's not quite as safe or as protected as she thought she was. And her job is to take care of these children. But she, on the way, meets up with a band of resistance, some of whom are vampires. I couldn't resist throwing a few vampires.
Right, of course.
And so...
I thought you were going to say the children were vampires.
No, the children
just pulled the money out of it. No,
that would be handy, wouldn't
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
There'd be real problems with a juvenile vampire, though, I think. You wouldn't have the emotional maturity to cope with all that, would you?
Right. Okay. And when is that you're hoping, do you have a projected time or a projected title?
I have...
Bloody Moor?
The title I've got is Ancient Ways, but I've learnt titles invariably don't stay. It's never a good idea to get attached to your title.
Okay.
I have a proposal right now with my editor, and I met with her last week, so I'm hoping she'll offer me a contract for it.
Okay.
That one I'm sort of doing it on the fly right now.
All right. Fly by night, so to speak. All right. Well, thank you very much, Georgia Evans, for being here. And from the Center for the Study and Teaching of Writing, this is Doug Dangler at the Ohioana Book Festival saying, keep writing.
Good one. Thank you very much. Thank you ever so much.